as mentioned, it's an absolutely beautiful day in New York City. So much so that it's the official start of iced coffee season. And it's time now for one of the friendliest segments. Or do you have an attitude today? I don't know.
I was feeling great until you were using our valuable airtime to talk about your beverage of choice because of the weather.
We did a whole thing on smoothies and milkshakes, and it does great on YouTube.
Is that
Was
what
that
you're
on
doing
the
on
TV
your
show
little
Wildes?
thing?
Hello, platform agnostic.
I'm not.
It's time now for King of the Hill.
Playoff edition. Tell me, Meyer, do we have the guys who fell off the hill? So, listen. A couple guys fell off the hill because their teams got knocked out of the play-in. A couple guys fell off the hill because their team technically made the playoffs, but it appears they wish they did not.
Oof.
Here is the people who fell off the hill. Triple J and Ja, I'm sorry, guys. See how this next week goes, but you lost by 50. You're off the hill.
Yeah.
Everyone, the Grizzlies, off the hill. AD and Trey, you just didn't make the playoffs. You have to be off the hill. Here's the deal. It is, as Brew likes to remind everyone, a rich tapestry. It is pedigree, standing in the league, historical playoff performance, but also a heavy weight on your performance in this year's playoffs, which makes it a little tricky when most of these guys' performance this year's playoffs is just one single solitary game, but it leads to a volatile hill.
Wow.
Bottom row. Jaylen Brown drops a tiny bit, as does Evan Mobley and Jamal Murray. So Jamal, it was more about his game one than his game two. Evan Mobley, it was okay, but not great in their dominant performance, as was Jaylen Brown. Say it again, Brew?
Their guards were phenomenal.
Absolutely. And so Jaylen Brown and Evan Mobley drop, even though their teams won in blowouts. It's fine. Paolo stays where he is. New to the hill, Chet.
Hey,
Pascal Siakam, Jaden McDaniels. Now, again, I don't think Jaden's life on the hill is going to be long, but maybe it will be.
Giving him a little
He was
love.
awesome
like that.
defensively, and he was like 9 of 11 from the field, and he makes the hill. Now a bunch of risers and one faller. James Harden moves up on the hill more so again. I thought he was the best player on the court in game one of that series, even though they ended up losing. Derek White. Up on the hill, he was outstanding. Darius Garland, as Brew alluded to, was excellent. Jalen Williams from the Thunder stays where he is, as does Draymond. Draymond had a triple single, but he was awesome defensively. Karl Anthony Towns. I didn't think, after game one, I didn't think he'd be dropping. But he was so bad in the second half of game two, they just need a little bit from him. He has to drop. Now Wild's going to get mad at him. Next row, Jason Tatum has to drop. And also,
why?
I will explain. He's injured. He's doubtful for game two with a wrist injury. And while Joe Mazzulla doesn't take that seriously, I do. And I do think, by the way, I don't think Tatum needs to play again in that series, and I think they'll win. They give him as much time as he needs. But also, again, it's a volatile hill. However, I think it's fair to say Jason Tatum's efficiency in last year's playoffs left a little to be desired. And then he started off this year's playoffs with another inefficient 8 of 22 game. Again, look at who his roommates are. The librarian, Jalen Brunson. Like, that's a bad neighborhood to be in.
No, but
it's where he is. Jalen Brunson stays where he is. Alperen Şengün stays where he is. He almost had an argument to move up, but they did lose. Tyrese Halliburton could have dropped him because he was so inefficient, but he had 12 assists and they blew him out. And Jimmy, playoff Jimmy, I was skeptical about whether or not we were going to see it this year. If we include game 82 and the play-in and this, we've seen it really in 3 straight games, so shout out to him. Now, 4th row of the hill. Again, Wildes, the hill is fair. Cade Cunningham moves up. Luka and LeBron move down.
Wow.
So
that's fair.
Luka I thought Luka got a little too much blame in the local LA media. Like, why did you only have 1 assist? I thought he played a good game. However, they got blown out. By his lofty standards, it wasn't a great game, and they were favorites, so he drops. LeBron obviously didn't have a great game on the offensive end at all. He drops. Donovan stays where he is. I could have moved him up, but I thought the other guys were more deserving. This next one just hurts my heart. Giannis has to drop. He is unbelievable. the team was down by 24 at the half. He can only do so much, but I think when you see the guys above him, you'll agree, like, if they're going to not only lose but get annihilated by the Pacers, that it's hard to have him higher than he was. Kawhi has to move up, given what Kawhi was good in Game 1, but there have been 10 playoff games this season. Kawhi had the single best one of them, so he moves up. And Anthony Edwards, a nice floor game, as Brew would call it, just his 7th 8+ assist game of the season, came at a perfect time. Controversy. For the first time all season, maybe? I'm not sure. We have a change at the top because Nikola Jokic drops, and it is not for SGA. So Joker, I thought, was a B+ game in Game 1 and a C game in Game 2. And again, small sample, admitted, but it is 2 games of these playoffs. Shai's a weird one because they won by 1,000 points. He also had the fewest points he's had since Halloween, so I didn't want to move him up. So that leaves one person available.
Wow.
I like this.
Atop the hill is Steph Curry. 31 points would not normally be enough to move you to the top of the hill. However, it's an old Michael Jordan style 31, where the team doesn't break 100 and you get 30, which is, adjusted for inflation, it's like scoring 40 essentially on a regular game, dealing with that defense, dealing with Amen Thompson, all of it. And I thought the back-breaking shots, I thought Steph had this, of all the 10 playoff games, I thought Kawhi had the single best game. I thought Steph had the second best game, all things considered. So, for the time being, Steph, his first time ever.
Quality hill.
Atop King of the Hill.
Well done. Well done. And I like Steph at the top because degree of difficulty.
Yes.
I mean, one, you're playing the 2 seed, you're the 7. And that team is rugged.
Yeah.
And they get after it. And like you said, you throw Amen Thompson on him, who's long and athletic, and Steph is older. Like, he made some tough shots. So I'm cool with that. It was hard for me, and I told Nick this, to decipher what was going on exactly in the hill. This is the richest tapestry I've seen.
Thank you,
almost.
Because I was like, when I saw Steph at top, I said, oh, okay, it's based on your game, this playoff so far. And then I saw SGA, I was like, he didn't play that well. And then I saw Jaden McDaniels at the bottom side. I was like, okay, so if it was just based on these playoffs, Jaden McDaniels be up there for a week. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, not that he's obviously not a better player, but I'm going to switch Jalen Brunson and LeBron. And here's why. Because Brunson has got to be Superman for his team, especially if Cat's going to disappear. Like, Jalen Brunson's going to have to be awesome for his team to win this first-round series that they're supposed to win. So far, his numbers, 35 points, 7.5 assists. Now, he's only shooting 44%. He's a small guy. That's not horrible, but, you want him to be a little more efficient. But here's the thing, and we know he's going to be Clutch Player of the Year.
We don't know that. You just voted
he's going to win. He's clearly going to win. You know that. Game 1, 12 points in the fourth quarter, 8 of them during that 21-0 run. And look, Knicks fans have to face this. But for the 21-0 run, which was what, 6 minutes?
They've kind of been outplayed.
They've been outplayed the whole time.
Quarters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's something. Now, it's been close. You've been closely outplayed, but you have been outplayed by the 6th seed for the majority of the series. And then in Game 2, he goes 14 points in the fourth quarter. And last night, I thought it got to a point where I was like, this is going to be exactly like Game 1.
Yeah.
Because the Knicks came all the way back. They're down 13 with 7 minutes left. Brunson scores 11 points in 6 minutes to lead I think it was a 19-6 run to tie the game with like a minute and 15 left. And then, we saw what happened. So Brunson has been great. He's going to have to be maybe even greater. So that's why I switched. And obviously LeBron didn't have his best game. So for the time being, I would switch those two.
So leave that up there. So that's fair. I was actually the person that's on row 5 that I was most trying to get on row 4 was Şengün. Because I did think he was the second best player in that game to Steph, and we elevated Steph all the way to the top. I also was thinking about this when it comes to club superstar. So Steph, Joker, SGA, Giannis, Ant, Luka, LeBron. Is Donovan in club superstar? I don't remember. Tatum, Brunson definitely are. Those other, Kawhi.
I think Donovan should.
Kawhi had been kicked out.
He could come back.
Kawhi making a case. Well, you got to see how long. Cade.
Making a case.
Making a case.
He's
the
definitely
librarian. Not making a case.
He's not ready.
No, he's not ready for the superstar. Jimmy had been in and got kicked out. It could be a year of returns to club superstar. Could Kevin Durant lose his spot?
No.
Probably not.
No.
I'm just thinking about it. Again, 1 in, 1 out, 12 guys.
Wow, Durant?
Brunson was in the one. Brunson got in last year, and it was very controversial.
Brunson could be.
Oh, Embiid is going to lose his spot.
Embiid's
going to lose his spot.
And
You're right
that's
about that. Donovan's not in. Donovan was.
It's like the Bud list.
Bud list has 3 segments.
Yeah.
Your intro, me.
We just did a whole segment. We just did Club Superstar.
No, we didn't. We're not in. You're not in your leisure
sequined
suits.
outfit.
Yeah.
I put this on social media because we're platform agnostic. I wrote, what did I write?
Nobody knows.
I don't remember.
Tree falls in the woods when you tree.
I wrote, how high can Kawhi climb? But I didn't. That was about King of the Hill. On social media, I wrote, a healthy, locked-in playoff Kawhi
this is what we call engagement farming.
Yeah. No, is a blank. Because I was really confused.
Give me replies. You're trying to get
No, I was wondering. And I got a lot of top 5s, a lot of top 3s. I was
a player in the league?
Yeah, healthy, locked-in playoff Kawhi is a top blank player, is the question Wildes asked.
So, and a lot of people said top 3. So I wrote on this one, how high can Kawhi climb? And here's the history of Kawhi, because we're going to get to the James Harden sound. Games with the Clippers for Kawhi. He played 266, but he missed 206. So it comes down to 57% of all possible games. He played 30 playoff games. He missed 15. But Kawhi this season, after missing first 30-some-odd games, the first 20 games, came back, 18 points. You're like, maybe we're just Kawhi's just gone. The Kawhi
That's
that
what
we
I
knew
thought.
was gone.
First 20.
Yes.
Teammates got to say that, and they should say that. But I completely disagree because I think Kawhi Leonard is appreciated. First of all, he's was noted, named the top 75 player of all time. One of our colleagues, Emmanuel Acho, is saying if they win the championship, a tall order, no doubt. But if they win the championship, he's a top 15 player ever, maybe top 10. Didn't he say arguably top 10? That's a lot of.
Strong.
I'm just saying it's one guy, but that's appreciation. That's a media. If one media member went out there and crushed him, Harden might refer to that.
And Marcus Morris said he's the most dangerous guy going into the playoffs. Which, by the way, a couple games in, Marcus looks maybe smart. And I'm not. Marcus is in the media now. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying when he went to LA a few years ago, people were calling him the best
player in the world.
Like he gets appreciation. It's just been that he's been out for so long. You showed it. He's basically missed half of his tenure with the Clippers.
Yep.
That people are just exhausted. And it's like, you know what? He's done. Like he's not a superstar anymore, if only because he can't be healthy. Nobody's ripping him. They're just like, I can't count on him, so I'm not going to put my energy into believing in him because, he's most likely not going to play. So I just think that's all it is to it, Nick. And here's the last thing I'll say. When they were in the bubble and they blew that 3-1 lead to Denver.
When he was healthy.
He was healthy. People thought he might be the best player in the world. He didn't get killed for that. Doc Rivers got killed and Paul George got killed.
Yes.
And so people gave Kawhi a pass. Maybe deservedly so because he's a 2-time champion, 2-time finals MVP. But I'm just saying, I totally disagree that people are like destroying him.
And any other superstar that if they got hurt early in a playoff run and then that team went further than they had ever gone with him, as the Clippers did when they made the conference finals, they made the conference finals without him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The second round.
Exactly. There would have been a whole bunch of the old Ewing theory stuff. He got none of it, which, by the way, was smart. It would have been dumb to be like, are they better off without him? So what I think once upon a time, there was the only unfairness towards Kawhi Leonard was, and I was part of it, frustration about the load management that I think some of us thought. I remember it was years ago, but it was the third game of the year, and he was resting. And I remember doing a whole thing like it's not even Halloween yet, and you're sitting out. As it turns out, it was truly preventative because of whatever real issues with his body he's been dealing with. Kawhi Leonard, the player, I think has actually never spent a day of his career underrated. I think he has either been properly rated and very briefly overrated when, in my opinion, when people thought he was the best player in the world, and I don't think he ever was. But I think there has always been a real reverence to who this guy is, particularly in the postseason when he's right. Now, folks that went on TV and said he's stealing money, those types of things, that's unfair, and I think that's poor form. But I also, to be totally honest, not do a journalism thing, I hate those types of questions. Like, what's James Harden going to say? It's like, hey, do you think your teammate Kawhi Leonard has been properly appreciated? He's like, actually, you know what? Great question.
Missed 43%.
Right, to be honest, I think you guys give him too much credit. Did you see what I did this year? I was out there every day. Left money on the table again and again.
MVP James Harden.
Right, I was better than Kawhi in game one. Nobody gave a damn. Like, what's he going to say? And so, yeah, I think Kawhi's properly appreciated.
Yeah, that's King of the Hill. Great segment.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.